Welcome to Eternal Paradigm. Together we're uncovering the human experience and exploring physical, mental, emotional and spiritual stories with me, your host, Shamir Raval. Welcome to Eternal Paradigm, and I hope that you're enjoying your journey to find you. I've been joined by a man in this episode who has taken some, extreme lifestyle choices to become the best version of himself. I must stress that this conversation is not to endorse the choices that he's made, but it's simply to share a story about a person who has been focused and committed to his health and well-being. He describes his purpose as being a son who makes his parents proud and a father for his children to look up to. And he's definitely ticked those boxes. My guest, Shamir Raval, you will tell from the surname. Yes, we have the same surname, and he is my brother-in-law. And I had to share his story because obviously I've known him for a long time, and I have been sitting on the sidelines as I have watched him go from being this incredibly ambitious young man to becoming a father and to the man that he is today. I had no choice but to bring him to you in this conversation, and I am really, really pleased to have had this chat with him. And I hope that you will understand that he is incredibly softly spoken and his lifestyle choices leave a lot to be desired, and we've had many family conversations around his choices and why he does the things that he does, and I have nothing but admiration for him. So he's also known as the Vegan OMAD 1. That's his Instagram handle. A lot of his Instagram posts are pretty much around his amazing vegan food. That is lovely. So he's had his fair share of life events that have changed his path. And one such incident was being involved in a car accident where he luckily survived, almost unhurt. He felt that it was a kick to his conscience at that point. And lo and behold, he decided he needed to do something different. He needed to shake up his life. And he did. He went on an adventure. So what he describes as an encounter with his guardian angel, he took himself off on a trip of a lifetime to learn the martial arts discipline that Bruce Lee was known for, Wing Chun. He describes in our conversation the intensity of the learning and the practice and how focused he had to be. And when you hear him speak, he's incredibly softly spoken and he has an incredible passion for animals. And how you bring those two things together of someone who's incredibly softly spoken, who is very mild-mannered, and yet in the context of Wing Chun, he was a champion. He did it. So while he was in China, he also found his life partner. That in itself is a beautiful story that I'll leave him to tell you. Nowadays, he spends his days posting, like I said, amazing food pics on his Instagram account, working, obviously, and his meals are focused on intermittent fasting. And now his fasting hours are between 20 to 24 hours, sometimes well over 24 hours. He has surpassed 100 days of this practice, which he celebrated on Instagram. He also follows the Wim Hof breathing and fitness techniques, which he combines in his daily life with cold showers every day and goes out swimming in the cold sea. The colder, the better, is usually his saying. He's an absolute lover of animals, and that's really refocused his thinking on how he wants to live his life in this world. Here, you can hear his story.
My name is Shamir Raval. I'm 39, living in Dublin, Ireland, but grew up in Basildon in Essex, the southeast of England. 3 words to describe myself: highly organised, determined, and positive. I think are the 3 words that describe me.
So I would like to know, how would you define being a person with a purpose? So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean that's a very difficult question. I think within that, with purpose, I personally think that purpose would be something that I would stand up for, and my parents would be happy with that, and also my children would want to try and copy that. So that's what I think is a person with purpose. So kind of thinking with that, I mean, I think personally that it's standing up for people or animals who can't stand up for themselves.
When it comes to your parents and when it comes to your children, that it has to fit both ways. So it's like,
yeah, you would hope it to. Yeah. I don't know why that is. It's just a real strange one, and I only just really, as I was really thinking about it, then I kind of, well, that does fit both ways with that generation and the younger generation, and also with the animals of myself being vegan, and parents have really cut down on their dairy, and they can see what's happening in the dairy industry, and even my children, like they're on the bare minimum. They definitely would like to go vegan, but let's at least get them onto some alternative milks because they love their cereal.
Yeah.
So I know they're not going to give up the goat's milk or the cow's milk. So once they actually found one that they like and they're happy, I don't want to force them into it, but
that's interesting.
Part.
So they still haven't found an alternative that they're happy with.
Well, my daughter has. She has soya milk from time to time.
Yeah.
But my son still hasn't, and we've gone through every single milk. So I don't know.
Wow.
Well, he did say, he goes, "Oh, can I have the chocolate oat milk?" I was like, "No, you're not having chocolate oat milk on your cereal every morning." And next you're going to be asking me for Cheerios as well. It's like, that ain't happening.
Sugar and sugar.
Yeah,
no, not the best.
Send you off to school. Yeah, off you go.
So. No. Just to move on from that point, now this is a really valid and relevant point, and one of the reasons that I very much wanted to speak to you and have you as a guest on the show is because your lifestyle choice is based on a very, like you said, it's based on a very purposeful action, and that is that you have become vegan, and you haven't been vegan your whole life. You've been vegetarian, but then you took that step, and your action has also resulted in you kind of living an extreme diet, I want to say, which is the 1 meal a day, kind of as a kind of linked to intermittent fasting. If you could just go into a little bit more detail about what were the personal things, because I think I totally get what you're saying because of the dairy industry, the way that eggs are made and manufactured, the whole kind of impact of farming and meat farming across the world is so, it's horrific.
Yeah, that's it.
Not only environmentally, but we know that it's not the best way for humans to eat to eat this flesh. But what I'm really interested in is, how did you get to that point of being vegetarian and then moving over to becoming vegan? Because that is that switch. Because I think in one of my podcasts I was talking very much about personal action and personal responsibility, where a couple of my friends watched the documentary and were like, oh yeah, we want to be vegetarian, but they felt like it's something they couldn't do because they didn't understand how much of a difference they could make. And I feel that that's a big thing. People actually don't think that they are worth it, and therefore they don't take action. So I'm really interested in knowing what provoked you, excuse me, because there are the outward things that we see, which should be enough, right? To provoke a human reaction to say, stop, that's enough.
Yeah, well, everyone sees it, and then they're just like, but taste, it's just a weak argument. Yeah, but taste. And that's it. That's the only argument that people have now. When you really break it down, when you really get into a conversation with somebody, because they all say, it's cruel. Yes, we know the animals are raped. Yes, we know they're tortured. Yes, we know sometimes the stunning doesn't work. Yes, I know it's bad for me, but it tastes so good. And that is always when you really have a real frank conversation with someone, which is very difficult because a lot of people just want to mock you for being vegan, and they want to give you the stupid straw man argument all the time, or give you if you was on a desert island and there was only a cow, they want to give you the scenarios when you switch it back and say, but imagine if you lived in a society in 2020 where all vegan food is available to you for all your meals. Why don't you do that? But taste. I mean, the reason why I mean,
it comes down to taste. Wow, that I am absolutely intrigued. That is That
Yeah.
is like, wow, that's incredibly weak.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is it basically. And I mean, there was one guy who really entertained me in work. He's originally from Romania, and when I was telling them about the milk industry and how it is, and he was like, "No, it's not like that. It's not like that." And then when I showed him the video on the surge, I said, "Look, just give me 6 minutes of your time. We watched the surge milk industry." I said, "This is in the UK, so everyone would think in England, this is the calves and the cows, the dairy cows, are all treated very, very well, high standards approved by the RSPCA and so on and so forth." And he was just shocked. He just couldn't believe it. He's like, "No, this can't be England." And obviously, it was in the end. He said, "Yeah, but I have no. If I change over, it doesn't make a difference." But anyway, look, I will get into that.
oh,
It does.
that's
It does make a difference,
interesting. Yes, yeah.
So yeah, as you said, as you alluded to there, so vegetarian my whole life, but I wasn't eating eggs at all. Like, we were strict vegetarians, but then
Yeah.
I was very, very slim my childhood, which really, by English standards, I was underweight. I was slim, but if you really took it properly by Indian standards, I was probably normal. Probably the doctor didn't take that in consideration. Obviously, this is late 80s, and the doctor just said, no, okay, you need to start feeding him eggs and needs to start putting on weight. But I had an Indian mother and an Indian father. Genetics would have decided
Gosh.
and
Yeah.
surely
So
displayed.
no, none of that. So they had no, sorry, just to add to that, obviously at
Yeah.
that time, it was like we were all, regardless of whatever background you were, you had to fit a Caucasian standard of health, right?
Yeah, exactly. Weight and height.
And
Yeah.
and how's that possible? Because your genetics are telling you something totally different, right?
Yeah,
You're supposed to
it
morph.
just isn't going to happen ever. But so yeah, my mum started then cooking eggs for myself. I don't even remember eating them, but yeah, I was given eggs allegedly. But I suppose I didn't really have much of a childhood memory. It must have been it was a good childhood. So that's a kind of a good thing that I don't remember too
But the
much.
eggs weren't memorable. Yeah.
No, not at all, not at all.
Oh gosh.
So then began eating eggs. And then I was working even in food outlets in Wimpy, McDonald's, Pizza Hut and cafeterias and stuff, and was still never ever tempted to eat meat. And I had loads of friends obviously mocking me and stuff throughout my childhood and all that. But no, it was always just for animals. I actually remember one conversation having with one of my aunties. And even then, it kind of strikes me now, like I was very, very young. And I remember this real clear conversation to saying, yeah, the wool industry, wool is really cruel, isn't it? And she's going, well, it's not really cruel, And I was like, well, the way they take their wool off their bodies. And she goes, oh, yeah, I suppose the handling of the animals, yeah, is a bit rough and stuff. And still, I think I've always had this thing for animals. And we haven't had that many pets. I think we had literally a gerbil and a goldfish. Actually, I remember one time when the gerbil's towel fell off and I cried. My brother grabbed it, and I was really upset that his towel fell off. Which obviously now we know. Well, I would have known later on that was a natural thing that's supposed to happen. But so yeah, it was always as I become in the late teenage years, obviously become kind of conscious of weight and stuff and everything. And in my 20s, and I was kind of realizing, so with my older brothers and my mother's diagnosis of diabetes, that this is probably going to happen to me more than likely. Began looking more into that and then discovering that I'm 5 times more likely to get diabetes than my English equivalent, which is a shocking statistic if you really think about it.
Yes,
And
yeah.
it kind of scared me, really did. And I was like, and just said it from there, I really don't ever want to get diabetes. So that's it, as one of my descriptions of myself. I'm determined, so I'm not going to get diabetes and have that mindset. Plus, to get diabetes in Ireland and paying for your medication is very expensive, so it's not going to be cheap.
That's another motivator, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if anyone knows me, knows what I am like with money and stuff and that, so knows that definitely don't want to be paying extra
You're
money for
thrifty.
just it, thrifty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was actually a guy called Logan Sneed. He's a chap on YouTube, and he had a brain tumor, in fact, and crashed his car, and they discovered that he had a brain tumor. So once he come around and he had his surgery, everything was great. he went and lived a ketogenic lifestyle. So from that, he does like great workouts, ketogenic, blah, 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 blah. Then he did the vegan one, and then he started doing OMAD, and he was doing loads of things. And then one line just hit me one day. He says, with the 1 meal a day meal is the best because you're only spiking your insulin once in a 24-hour period. Therefore, you're into ketosis, your blood sugar levels are low. When you eat, it's only going to go to a certain level. However, if you was eating the 3 or 4 meals a day or the 6 meals a day, if you were to have, say, a slightly larger meal or a couple of donuts or something or whatever, your baseline glucose level is already at, say, for example, 5 or 6 or 7, and then you have that donut, and boom, you're up into the double figures. Where if you're at like 3 or 4, you're steady, you're really low, and you feel fine, and then you spike, you're not going to spike up into those double figures, more than likely. And it kind of hit me like, oh, okay, so if I can only push my pancreas to work once a day, therefore the chances of me getting diabetes are dramatically reduced. So kind of a lot more. Then really, really like when there's an overdrive into the research into 1 meal a day, and right, okay, how am I going to do this? Because there's going to be a right way and there's going to be a wrong way with any diet. And if I'm going to do this, I'm going to stick at it. Why do people fail in their diets? Because they don't stick at it. But it's hard. That's why. You can't, what a diet for anyone isn't going to be. I think I could probably change over to any kind of diet, really. Obviously, being vegetarian or vegan, I'm definitely going to stay vegan. I could probably go to any kind of eating habit, but preparing and going into it correctly. So the way I did it, which I advise loads of other people who've asked me, have come to me onto my Instagram, is that you calorie count at what you're normally doing. So say about a month, you do your calorie counting of what you normally eat. Mine was about 2,000 up to 2,500. And then my overall median was 2,200 calories, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. And then I moved over to 16/8. So you're just fasting for 16 hours and you eat in an 8-hour window. So within that 8-hour window, I'm going to eat 2,200 calories, whether it's 1 meal or whether it's 2 meals or 3 meals, but just in that 8-hour window. And then I was probably on about 2 meals, which was fine for me. I felt good. It was okay. No issues. Did that for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then in work, I was just really busy and I wasn't able to get up to lunch. And my body was just adjusting. It felt fine. I didn't feel weak. I wasn't getting the shakes. I was having no issues. And then I just carried on pushing out that fasting window longer and longer. And then one time, obviously, if it's going later for my meal, I'm eating until later on. And then, so I remember eating one of my meals very late, about 10 o'clock. So I said, right, that's it. I don't need to eat now until tomorrow, another 24 hours later. And then that was it. So then it was easily enough to adapt within that. But just a point on that I want to add is that previous to all of that, I was getting a blurry vision. I was getting real thirsty at night. Diabetes was coming. It was coming strong. And I remember my mum saying it, my brother saying it, that you're getting it. You're definitely getting it. So be careful, watch your weight. And like, just to say, watch your weight, like it's easier said than done. Try and cut down on your calories, try and do this, try and watch what you eat. With now, like, it's fine. Just eat one big meal. You only got to prepare one meal. So there's a lot more just easier, so many more advantages to it, really, So that's how I did it. And then so I was doing.
Can I just ask?
Yeah, sure. Jump in.
Quickly. Give me I've seen on your Instagram that sometimes you're not eating for 26 hours and 34 minutes, I think. And I am intrigued because that includes one meal, that includes you potentially going to work, you doing your, jobs as dad and sleeping and just managing life. And that's 26 hours and one meal.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? But if you go back thousands of years, I'm sure that's what they did anyway. I mean, this is just probably me getting back even pre-ancestors, probably even way before that. Yeah. I'm sure that's how the human body survived. They were obviously only eating if they were, depending where they were or whatever, but we just assume, look, there were people eating meat back then. So catch that animal, eat that. I wouldn't be catching every single 2-3 times a day, catching animals and eating that meat. It would have gone off.
Very true. Yes, you're right.
It would be one a day. one every 2 days, maybe.
Maybe every
So
3 weeks, because
yeah.
they would have survived on what was easier to get to, which would have been kind of berries, fruits, and
Mm.
foraging, really, surely.
Yeah, yeah, mushrooms,
So
whatever, just
yes,
depending where they
yeah.
are. Yeah, yeah.
And so
But
that, I mean, on that basis, you're eating almost to the timelines that the human body still understands, because in our memory, what our ancestors did is still there. If you see what I
must be.
mean, in our body's memory.
It must be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't. I know it works, and I know how it works. But there's lots of people, and they're just on their 3 meals, or the bodybuilders on their 6 meals a day. And no, loads of people are just like, nah, this can't work, and it can't work long term either. I remember when I initially did it, there's a work colleague with me, and Ken, real nice guy. He actually had a brain tumor many years ago, and luckily it wasn't cancerous and stuff like that. And like he goes through, lots of medication and stuff. That's why I know medicine's really expensive over here. And like he really, it's a bit of an inspiration, because like, he gets up at like 4 in the morning, has to inject himself, take loads of tablets, has to eat obviously, and then come into work and do a 7 till 7 shift, take other meds, suffer with headaches. Never hear him moaning. Never. Once he only told me the story of like what I just told you of his daily routine. Always there at work, and then I'm like, God, so if you can do that, why do you have me a problem me doing my 1 meal a day? Because it was like, no, you shouldn't be doing it. There's no way the human body can survive that day. And I was telling him I was driving up to Belfast at the weekend, which is like about 2.5, 3 hours drive from here. And he was like, you shouldn't be driving. There's no way your wife should be driving all the way up there. What if you pass out and crash the car and all this? I'm like, I do feel what's
Wow.
going on in my brain.
I
Like,
that's, gosh,
yeah,
that
so
is
there is that
insane.
kind of mentality with it. But I know, I'm like, if anything, I feel so much better now. Like I'm,
Hmm.
it's 8:30 now. I'm at 24 hours now, well able to converse with yourself, well able to whatever. If I wanted to go for a walk now or whatever, I'm totally fine, absolutely without an issue. But doing it the right way, there are other people that have gone into 1 meal a day, and okay, they might be in really hot climates and not being able to stick
Hmm.
to it for a long while. Definitely wouldn't advise it unless you're getting enough salts in, if you're getting enough calories in, and then you need to be doing a lot higher carb kind of intake to your body's burning so much more energy. So you've got to adjust your
Hmm.
diet of which way you're going to be doing it. But luckily, okay, we're in Ireland. But yeah, some of the days when I go out and I do my sea swimming, I do my Wim Hof cold showers or my ice baths and that, yeah, man, I'm struggling to get to 24 hours because my body's working overtime and I'm hungry then. And I'm like, oh, God, yeah. But just get through the hunger. See, that's the other great thing as well. When you have your hunger
Yeah.
pains, it's like for a
Hmm.
minute and then it is gone. Where previously, when I was eating normal, in inverted commas,
Hmm.
the hunger pains were going for ages until you ate, because your body's just nagging at you. You're like, I know you're going to feed me. Just come on, feed me. And it'll go on for half an hour. I don't know. It's a distant memory. You might remember, but yeah, your body just keeps nagging at you with the hunger pains and the
Hmm.
belly rumbling. Now, okay, yeah, it's a bit painful for a minute and then that's it. It is gone. Maximum 5 minutes. My body will nag at me. It knows it ain't getting anything, just stops. So
Yeah.
it
So,
works.
yeah, well, just to throw it out there, I have been taking your advice and I have been coming to you and asking questions,
Yeah.
because I haven't got as many hours clocked up as you. I'm nowhere near that expert kind of maestro level, but
Yet.
I am,
Yet.
yeah, yet. But I have to say that since I have been intermittent fasting, I have a 4 hour eating window
Good.
and I do 19 hours of,
Fantastic.
just
Yeah.
water. And it's amazing. And I've noticed a difference in my
Brilliant.
skin, in my inflammation. I had a whole host of different health issues that were cropping up, right? Age, hormones, weight, ethnicity, whatever else.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
exactly. And I've noticed a big difference. And I think you're absolutely right, because it's about mindset and it's about that conditioning, and how, people may, like you said, have their reservations because our modern thinking has conditioned us into thinking that you need medicine to live.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
or that you need to be eating regularly to survive.
Yeah.
Not really, because there are increasing studies that are now coming out of, things like people who they're able to reverse diabetes
Yeah.
from not
Yeah.
only not only lifestyle changes, but extreme kind of water fasts, which are quite extreme, and they are going on for a lot of days. I think it's like 28 days or something, but I'm not going to that extreme, but I can definitely notice a difference. Bringing it back to you, can you just tell the listeners what your one meal a day kind of looks like? And I would urge you all to go to this guy's Instagram page, because the pictures of the food that are put up is just amazing. So run us through what a meal looks like.
Okay, so I had to really decide on when I was going to have that one meal a day, because that's the question I get asked a lot. Like, when do you eat your one meal? So that can be anything for anybody. It could be your lunch meal, it could be your breakfast meal, it could be your dinner meal. I chose the dinner meal because I like my shaka rotlis, I like my curry and chapatis. So it was never going to be breakfast. That was never going to be a starter.
That's
That was
my
never going to be a
breakfast
runner.
on a good day. Yeah.
If you got the energy to wake up early and cook that and stuff, my hat goes off to you. But I couldn't do it. But I've got my shift, so I've got my night shift. I've got to really take into consideration my day shift. Like, say, I do 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. So the main meal would be. I see, that's the thing. When looking at it, I was like, okay, so I could really eat what I want as long as I'm. So for a short amount of time when I was beginning, I was calorie counting just to say make sure I was getting my enough proteins, enough fats, enough good fats, obviously, and enough carbs, because carbs are just going to give you energy. That is a fact. Your protein and everything. I'm going to go a bit controversial here, but it's like totally overhyped. If you're just living normally, if you're training, totally different story.
Yes.
And your fats. The fats as well will give you a good amount of energy, keep your cholesterol low. And so my meals initially, I was a lot better than I am recently. Recently, I've been definitely slipping a little bit onto the vegan junk food, but I'm not going to beat myself out about it.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, it tastes amazing as well, but I'm still I'm keeping the avocados in there, keeping the hummus in there as much as possible. I absolutely love the little bakery pretzels.
Yes.
Pizzas, vegan burgers, curry, rice, not that much rice actually, tell a lie, and chapatis, loads of salad. And I mean, that is really my meals. I mean, my wife, it's a great thing, make these things called mutia that incorporate loads of different grains and vegetables, and you steam them, then oven cook them, and like you can really make them how you want. So her twist in it is completely different to my mum's. Like she said, if a real Indian person ever come to our house, I'll be embarrassed making these because they're so completely different, but they're so good, and they're so good for you as well. I mean, whatever, tacos and burritos and everything. But then, like I have my vegan ice creams, I have my vegan custards. I didn't realize, but most of the garlic bread on the market is all vegan as well. It's not made with butter.
Yes.
It's actually made with margarine, I suppose, but not margarine as we used to have when we were kids, or the one that was fattening up ducks or whatever they were using margarine initially for. Yeah. So that's kind of cool, because like what actually made me go over to veganism was watching that documentary on Netflix, the Game Changers. So when I did actually start my Instagram, when I was doing the one meal a day that was all perfected, I was like, well, I just do it as a 30-day challenge. And then I literally, was it the 29th day or whatever, or the 30th day it must have been, I watched the Game Changers, because I was like, I just happened to, it was just, it was obviously meant to be, but it was just pure coincidence. Well, I suppose it's obviously the what do you call it? It's supposed to happen. It's just meant to be.
Yes,
Watch the Game Changers, and I was like, right, that's it. I'm going vegan. End of. Tomorrow, I'm going vegan, and still stuck with the one meal a day. So actually, look, 345 days or 346 days vegan one meal a day, and obviously you want to add on the 30 days before that where I was doing vegetarian. So like I'm over a year, but I'll only count really the vegan one meal a day coming up to a year now. So 20 odd days away from it. Yeah, so, unfortunately I'm in work that day, so it won't be
well, I look forward to seeing the pictures of your food on that day.
Yeah.
Big celebration. A massive vegan donut, that's what you need.
I've got 2 downstairs waiting for me now anyway.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I won't keep you for too long, but I have got a couple of questions before I let you go.
Yeah, no, look away, there's no rush.
I am interested in your travels, because you mentioned earlier that you were in China for some time. Now, what happened? How did you get to China? And give us a bit of a kind of update on your travel adventures.
Yeah. Okay, so from a young age now, like my mum and dad always would take us away on holiday every year, and my mum was real great. And my dad, they're both born in Africa, West Africa, East Africa, sorry, in Kenya and Uganda, and they'd always every year definitely take us away on holiday. And but when you were there, it wasn't just sitting by the beach, it was exploring and going around islands. And my dad would hire a car. Like it was amazing because he worked in Ford, so he was able to drive on the wrong side of the road with the steering wheel on the wrong side of the road, where definitely other Asian parents or even other English parents were not doing. They were like, no, I can't drive that way. But my dad, yep, just get in. He goes, it's just the same. And that was, I think, really, you kind of took for granted that you just hire a car and go around. But now as an adult, you kind of realize like, wow, okay, bloody hell, back then, that's actually kind of a cool thing. And my mum would take us, say, go speak to locals or where we can go on day trips. So that travel bug was definitely just put in us at a young age. So I remember seeing this vicar actually go over to China, real straight up lace vicar from England, go over to China, live in a Chinese Shaolin training camp for, I don't know, a few months or whatever. And then he went back to England and how it changed his life and how his experience was. And I was like, wow, that is just amazing. I would love to do that. But like, this is the boom time. I was working away. Fortunately, I was very, very blessed. I got into refrigeration thanks to my brother, got into this good company and then built my career, went back to college and was busy as anything and working away. And then come into a bit of money and bought this really fast car, Fiat Uno Mark II Turbo, for any petrol heads out there.
I was going to say, another love of yours, right?
yeah. So many passions. But so I had this car. I literally had it a month and was driving a little bit too fast. And somebody did a U-turn in me and I just smashed head on into them. And literally, like your last guest, I think she was saying there, when she was saying that she had somebody felt a guardian angel definitely come down on me and save me that day, because as I said, I was going very fast and head-on collision. My driver's seat went forward, my steering wheel, luckily it snapped and went up towards the ceiling as opposed to my face, and come away with like literally just a dislocated toe and a bit of a banged knee, bit of a sore knee. And that was it. From that injury, basically I was like, wow, I should have died there. I just couldn't believe that I walked away. The car was very, very badly smashed up, the roof was bent in and everything. And I was blessed, I was saved. I really was. So from there, I was like, right, that's it. I'm going to do something with my life. I'm going traveling. I'm going to see the world before it's too late. And so that was December 16th. Actually, I remember when I had that accident. That was 2007. Went back to work after a few months in March. And I just said, right, every month I'm putting £1,000 away. Don't care what happens. And by November, I had enough money to go traveling, and with my parents' blessing as well. But I actually remember going away that day. And yeah, it was obviously very sad, and literally get the suitcase and the back of my back and backpack and all the rest of it and waving them off and walking up to the terminal. I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
That moment, it was like,
yeah.
yes, I'm going to change something, I'm going to do something, to the reality of walking away. And then
yeah,
that,
I was like, oh man.
Gosh.
See, but the thing was, it was like, okay, definitely want to go to Rome, definitely want to go to China and do what your man did in that documentary that I saw. But it was just working out cheaper to buy actually round the world ticket and taking a load of other places. So I went to Rome by myself in November, freezing cold. Didn't really realize that Rome got cold, which is strange, and that is good. It's lovely. And then on to China, and it was just booked for 3 months and do my martial arts training. Then I'm going to move on to Japan, Miami, South America, and then back to the UK. Probably just thought I'll be there for 6 months. The whole thing wasn't planning on the year, but if I really wanted to stay and continue traveling, I would. Yeah, so got to China, did 3 months, and was really happy with my progress and very close to my master. We got on really, really well, and the group that I was with. So I was training in Wing Chun, which is the original martial art that Bruce Lee learned. And just the guys, we got on very well. A couple of ladies got on so well, so supportive. No one would ever laugh at each other. Everyone would always help each other. Sometimes you'd be missing home and stuff, and you could talk to these people. And it was actually one guy from India come along, Mayank. And so that was nice to have a bit of home there as well. Because I remember one time I was out there for Rakshaman and the Rakis, and my sister sent it over to me. And I was like, yeah, no, Mayank, I want you to tie this for me, I just went to him.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't even get a female. Got a him.
So
So,
you developed some really kind of strong friendships and connections
mm,
with people. And so,
yeah.
what was a day of training like?
Okay, so at its hardest, actually, we go with the lightest. So the lightest training would be, so you'd be up for like 6:30 till 7:30. You go down and you do Tai Chi. Very nice start to the day. Go for breakfast, 8 to 8:30, somewhere around those lines. And then 8:30, you'd have your first training in Wing Chun or Baji, which is another similar martial art, but more powerful strikes and more deadly strikes and arm locks and choke holds and, real deadly force. So you'd be doing either one of those two up until around about lunchtime, until about 11 or 12. There'd be a little 15-minute break in there, and then you stop for lunch, get an hour, and you go back. And then you would, sometimes in summertime, you get a little bit longer, like an hour and a half, 2 hours, because it get very hot. And then you do the next training until about 3 or 4. But then, that'd be then your own time. And then by then, you have your dinner about 4 or 5 o'clock, and then 6-ish. Then you're just wrecked, you're just sleeping. But because I stayed, say, 3 months, and then it becomes 6 months, and then I was doing very well at the martial arts. So a few of us, say 6 fighters, got picked to actually represent the school in a competition. And then it became really intense training, because then you were up for 5 o'clock in the morning, and you would still be training until 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Even at weekends, you didn't have weekends anymore. You were training the same thing, 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was just literally to break you. Literally at one point, man, I was in tears. It was just, the training was so hard. I didn't cry in front of the master or anything. It was like back in my room, privacy in my own room.
Oh
It
dear.
was so hard. Like,
Intense.
it really was intense. But I went on. I won the competition, which is really good. So actually, the whole training really, really paid off. It was against Russian fighters who, they come with their A game as well. But I think just the training that I had, the intensity, just had that spirit there and had a determination to push through. And it was amazing. It was real life changing in the end. I stayed there for 11 months in the end. But I suppose you want me to drop my wife in this section now, don't
I
you?
do. That's the bit I love about all of this. I'm
Yeah.
glad that you won the in the competition and all that, but I like this bit more.
So I remember it exactly. So I was there in November, as I said, November 2008, through winter months. And then in April, towards the end of April, you have new people coming, because obviously the kind of season change is warming up. So you get more and more. There's nobody. I was the only stupid one that arrived in winter time, giving it, it'll be fine. Like, yeah, literally it's only you and no one else for how many months. But there's obviously a reason I didn't really think about that too much. But yeah, so you could see on the board actually in the master's office of who was coming within the next week or so. And then there was this name, Alison, and from Ireland, and just really kind of stood out for me. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, cool. Okay. So she arrived on the Friday, and I remember seeing her, and I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, geez, yeah, she's really pretty and stuff and real nice. I was like, play it cool, come talk to her at the weekend,
Pep talk
so
to yourself,
yeah,
right?
it was, yeah. But some of the other guys, obviously, they were like, oh, geez, yeah, she's really nice, all the rest of it. That. So from there, I was like, okay, where's she from? And I was asking them, she's from Ireland, she's from Dublin, she's this year's, she's this age, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. And then on the Monday morning, just, kind of talked to her a little bit, got up close and was like, yeah, okay, talked to her a little bit. And obviously, she's there with like 45 guys, maybe about 5 other women. She's probably just spoiled for choice if she is looking. She wasn't really looking, to be honest, as she says. And yeah, just really nervous, more concentrating on the training. So then we end up doing like a little, in the morning, you do, the whole school does a little running warm up. So obviously I don't go running with my class, I go running with her class. Just like, oh, hi, blah, blah, blah. And, just sussing her out and seeing how everything is. And basically, look, long story short, over the week, really, really gain a friendship, I'd say. But I just didn't really want to get in a friend zone. So I didn't really want to waste my time. I really liked her, was in my own mind, absolutely, head over heels. And by the Friday, I was like, asked her straight, do you like me or not? Are you just wasting my time? Or am I just wasting my time?
Typical Essex boy out there,
Yeah,
straight to the
straight
point.
straight to the point, because obviously there's 45 other guys there. She might have her eye on someone else, and I'm just this idiot hanging on. And she was like, no, 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 I do like you. I do like you. So from there, we were together 24/7. So when you're with 24/7 with somebody for 2 weeks, you really get to know that person. You're right there and you're like, obviously my initial thing that I was always going to marry someone who was Asian like myself, or Hindu, definitely Hindu, and all these kind of checklists I had in my mind were all gone, at this point. But like, I had to be honest with her that she would be, married into a family. I am vegetarian. I would expect her to be vegetarian. I would bring up my children with Hindu names. There were so many things I had to be open with her about. And I suppose because she's Irish, she's so easygoing that she kind of saw qualities in me that kind of outweigh things that she would need to give up, like giving up meat. She wasn't really religious at all, so she would want her children to be religious, to have a faith, and she'd rather them be a faith of someone who actually believes as opposed to someone who doesn't really believe. And yeah, so just in that 2 weeks, we both fell in love with one another, and that was it. The rest was history, really. And here we are 10 years later, married with 2 kids. So yeah, that's how we met. As you do, in a Chinese monastery in China.
That's what I love. I love that. I think it's just absolutely amazing. Just to add to that, now this is where because you had these conversations very quickly, like you said, about the fact that, you've had, you come from a British Indian family, and that there are lots of kind of caveats and clauses to kind of seeing each other long term. But what I'm interested in is then, the cultural baggage around, usually it's the woman who gets married and moves abroad or moves away to live with her husband, which has been the case for many of my guests, whereas you did it the other way around. And I'm interested in how that was for you, because we always hear it from the woman's side. I gave up this, I did this,
Yeah.
Yet you moved life out of where you were to move to Ireland, and that's a big step for anybody. So how did that happen? How did you go about that?
Yeah. See, when as I've said, and from the accident and stuff, and that, I think from the accident really was a real changing point in my life, that everything happens for a reason. In that night, literally, if I didn't have that car accident, I'll still be in Basildon, Essex. Like, end of. I wouldn't have gone traveling. Wouldn't have met my wife. Wouldn't have these 2 kids. Probably have kids, but it wouldn't be these 2 kids. Like, everything happens for a reason. And when we were traveling together, we went traveling around the world. We had many scenarios like that. We missed trains, or we missed flights, or we missed this, or we ended up somewhere it's meant to be. And my mum's always said that. She's always brought us up like that. Look, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So when we were planning our wedding still, we still hadn't agreed on where we were going to live. So we still had this kind of argument stroke discussion stroke, like, oh, don't worry, you'll be living in England soon, or you'll be living in Ireland soon. And we were still literally on our honeymoon, hadn't agreed. But it just never come up as a real hot topic. It kind of got discussed, but like, I still had my job in England, she still had a job here in Ireland. Someone had to give up their job, and we were just going to see who chickened first, basically. But so what happened? So we're on a honeymoon in Mauritius. Great, 2 weeks, everything's going well. For some reason, decided to check we're on our on the computers and stuff in the hotel, and check our emails. I hardly think to check my emails and all that, but I checked my emails, and basically I got made redundant. So that's how.
By email while you're on your honeymoon?
Yes. Yeah, wow. Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, I was working for a contractor company or whatever. Okay. I was working for a well-known supermarket, and they were contracting the work out. So it was literally just the contractors emailed me. But at least I got paid. I had all my money out of them anyway, so they were going under. And because it was the 2008 crash. No, it was a couple of years after 2010, so still in the recovery period. It wasn't really recovering. It was still in a depression. But yeah, so she just literally said, "Oh, right, okay, looks like you're moving to Ireland, so." Which was obviously really hard for my parents, I really felt bad for them, because I always did say, no, definitely I'll be moving to England, I won't be moving to Ireland. And for my brother and sister as well, it's real hard on them. So, but obviously, look, married now, I've got responsibilities, I've got, I wasn't going to just live in England with my mum and dad whilst my wife is over there and living in her house in Ireland. It was just a no-brainer, and I'm glad I live here. I'm glad glad I'm bringing up my children in Ireland compared to England. They don't have to go through the racial prejudice and stuff that I had to go through, that my brother and sister had to go through. And like, I don't get hardly any racial abuse. I've literally been racially abused like 4 times over here in the whole 10 years that I've been here. Like, get racially abused 4 times walking down the street within a day in England.
And that's
In
specifically in Basildon,
in
where you grew up
Basildon,
in that
yeah,
part. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, literally, I remember the posh part of town in Kingswood, walking back through Kingswood area to my house across town in Kingswood, literally 3 times in 10 minutes by old people. I was like, what? I can't believe it's such a racist area, and this is supposed to be the posh part of town. So I'm better off where I am in Friends. At least
Yeah.
people know me and know my family and wouldn't think of ever racially abusing me. A child as well. Like, I look back at it now, I'm like, I was a child. I wasn't even a teenager, like 15 or 16. I was literally about 11 or 12 years old.
Oh, you were really young. Yeah.
Yeah, mad, absolute madness. But yes, I digress. I apologize.
No, that's like you said. It's a far cry from where you are now to what it was like for you growing up here. In that part of Essex.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and Ireland is beautiful.
Totally,
Absolutely
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing all of that with me. And it's been really interesting for me because I'm just horribly nosy, but also it's interesting to understand what your rationale has been for some really big kind of lifestyle, purposeful lifestyle changes. Because that has, through your Instagram, you can see that people are really resonate with what you're saying and how you're living, and they can connect with how you're choosing, your message kind of comes across. It's not, I'm doing this because, everything you've talked about today isn't particularly apparent on your Instagram page.
Oh, no way, no.
Do you see what I mean?
It's too difficult. I mean,
Yes.
there's a woman on there. I mean, she friended me about a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And literally 2 days ago, she goes, hang on a minute. So you have 1 meal in 1 day.
Yes.
That's it. I was like, yes, indeed. 1 meal, 1 day. She's like, that's like 1 plate of food. I was like, hell no, I wouldn't survive on 1 plate of food. Well, depending on the size of the plate now, but no, like until I'm full, especially with Indian food, you just keep filling up the plate loads of times. But yeah, no, the advantage is like, I mean, like the concentration, you're less stressed, like you don't get that slump, you don't fall asleep, you don't get that food coma anymore. And obviously you only got to plate, like do 1 meal a day, like that's all you got to prepare. But the biggest thing, actually, I've missed over, was the blood results, because I actually had a full blood test when I was vegetarian about 2 years ago, and then luckily I still had those results written down and everything. And then I remember we had a Zoom call, actually you were on that, I don't know if you actually were on that, to be honest. We had a family Zoom call, they had some quiz going on, and then when the quiz finished, we was all chatting still, and like all my cousins were just like so skeptical what I was doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Just couldn't believe what I was doing, just crazy, blah 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 blah. I was like, right, fine, I'll get a blood test, I'll show you guys. And so I went and got my blood test, I went and got checked up, and then even the nurse was saying, because I did tell her what I was doing, I just wanted to let her know up front what I was doing with the vegan and 1 meal a day. And she's like, oh, okay. She goes, do you cook with coconut oil? I was like, no, never. Sunflower oil. She goes, okay, that's good. She goes, because cooking with coconut oil will really push up your cholesterol. So definitely stay away from that. But yeah, my blood's come back better than ever. My cholesterol was low, my good fats were high, and just everything else. I no iron deficiency, no protein deficiency, all my vitamins, everything, all my minerals were bang on where they should be. So it works. Again, now I've got even medical evidence to back me up.
You are the walking Wim Hof in this field.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually really good to know. And I think, like I said, from personal experience, I'm heading towards your direction. Probably not as disciplined, and I don't think I'll be able to eat as many donuts as you do, but it's okay. I can deal with it.
That's another target.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just follow you constantly.
Yeah.
No, this is good. Thank you so much. Before we go, very quickly, do you have a message for the listeners?
I think people just really need to listen to their bodies more. Once I started doing that, it really did change my life. Why are you getting blurry vision? Why are you in a food coma after eating a big meal where your body, I see it as a battery. You're eating and then you're getting powered up. Why are you feeling so rough? Like you fill up a car, like it's ready to go, electric car, like it just goes, it's fine. It doesn't have that slump. Like an animal eats all this flesh and all this meat and, then goes to sleep for ages and lives that way because it can. The human body isn't designed to do that. It can't do that. Like you just got to carry on working, you've got to carry on living, you've got to look after your kids, you've got to keep working and stuff. Give your body the right fuel. Give it the vegetables, give it the fruit, give it what it really does need. The carnivorous diet, it just doesn't work. Like the way the fish, everything doesn't work for the human body. It really doesn't. Environmentally doesn't work. That's why they're chopping down the rainforest. I'm really on my soapbox now here. I do apologize, but
no, it's fine.
it's that why there's a lot of people that care about the environment. They care about that. Your decisions do the supply and demand. Let's just go back to supply and demand. McDonald's now are on it. Burger King are on it. All these Greggs are on it. All the big companies are on it. Even the small cafes, everywhere is on it. Is on the vegan meals. Why? Because customers want it. If we want it, if you want it, you will make a difference. McDonald's, instead of ordering all those beef patties, they're going to be slightly less on their beef patties. They're going to start ordering the vegan burgers. Slowly, it will continue. It will continue. That will trickle down. Taco Bell, KFC, all the big names. Slowly, they're cutting down. And even when you've got Alpro, you've got all the different milks, all the different yogurt companies and stuff and everything. They're still owned by companies that actually do use the dairy industry still. However, they're slowly cutting down on that. You are making a difference. You can make a difference. Your pound, your euro, your dollar, it does make a difference. So vote with it. Buy the things that are more ethical, morally right, from a moral stance. I mean, obviously, everyone, we haven't have been morally correct our whole life, but you can change that. I mean, you got one of the guys there, Joey Carbstrong, and they always love to throw it back in his face about his criminal past, his gang past where he used to, injure and hurt people and that. But he changed. We can all change. I've changed. I used to eat eggs. I remember one morning eating bloody 5 eggs in a row, thinking it was good for me. It wasn't. It really wasn't. But it wasn't as bad for the male chick being born literally on day one and being fed into a grinder because he's no use to the egg industry. That milk that should have gone to that baby calf is going to you. Why? You don't need it. It's bad for you. You're getting prostate cancer. You're getting breast cancer for these reasons, from the fuel that you're putting into your body. Just listen to your body. Listen to YouTube. What's going on there? Why to go vegan? Loads of good guys out there. Earthling Ed, Joey Carbstrong, and your man Logan Sneed, even though he does have, still consumes a lot of meat, he feels a lot better when he has the vegan stuff. There's other guys there, bodybuilders, loads of bodybuilders there, and athletes just really upping their game when they do go vegan. So that's my rant over.
It's not a rant, right? It is ultimately, it's a lived experience, and like you said, people are seeing it, feeling it and experiencing it, and the more people can see the value in that, the better it is for everyone.
Yeah, and the animals. Better for the animals.
Yes, and the animals too, and the environment, the animals. So yes, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Really got me thinking.
I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Eternal Paradigm. Join me next time.